Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's featured Reddit stories are from IDon'tWorkHereLady. Story 1 is by Stina B. I don't work here, you just said so yourself. Why would I do your job for you? This story usually comes up when reminiscing about retail horror stories, but I still can't believe the audacity when I think back on it. In 2011, I worked 2 part-time retail jobs, a department store and an upscale clothing store. I accepted an offer for my first full-time 9-to-5, so I had to pick which retail job to leave. I split my schedule by being available to the clothing store Sunday through Wednesday and the department store Thursday through Saturday. Originally, I had intended to quit the department store because I figured I could use the discount on workwear from the clothing store, but changed my decision based on several shifts with the new merchandising manager at the clothing store. She was fresh out of school and had been trying to throw her weight around to show everyone who was boss, and the other job folks were all generally nicer. I planned to start the new job on a day that would not affect my scheduled shifts or overlap with my already established availability for the clothing store. I popped into the store to give my notice. The general manager wasn't in. The truly awful merchandising manager was manager of the day, so that's who I spoke with. I don't recall how my new job's start date came up, but the gist from the manager of the day was that since even though I was not scheduled for the last 3 or 4 days of the second week, because I never was, they were unavailable days for me in their system due to my other part-time job. By starting my new job during that time, I was not giving them a full 2 weeks notice because what if someone needed me to cover for them? Our conversation went something like this. Me: Hi, this is my 2 weeks notice. I plan on working my assigned shifts for the next 2 weeks. It's been great. So sad to leave. Maud: Will you be available all the other days if someone needs a shift covered? Me: On days I'm usually available to y'all, yes. On days that I work my other part-time job, it depends on if I have a shift that conflicts, and I will only be available after 5 next Thursday and Friday. Look, I was young and honest. I should have just said yes and refused any shifts that conflicted. I'm older and wiser now. Maud: Since you cannot commit to being fully available to cover shifts next Thursday through Saturday, you're not even giving us a full 2 weeks notice and therefore are quitting on the spot right now. Me: Even if I was not quitting this job, I couldn't fully commit to work those days because those are department store availability days, just like the rest of the week. I can't fully commit to them because those are for y'all. Maud: We need to know that you're available if someone needs you to cover their shift. Me: I'm happy to be available for that if there's not a conflict with another job, which is exactly as it has been the whole time I've been employed here. If I'm not scheduled at department store, I'm happy to cover shifts here. If I already have a shift that conflicts with the coverage request, I have to decline. Maud: Doesn't matter. Give us a full 2 weeks of availability or you don't work here anymore. Me: Okay, cool. Bye. Walks out. Here's the thing, it's real nice for coworkers if you can cover their shifts, and I was totally willing to cover shifts if I could during that last 2 weeks. But it is not required. We were only expected to be there for scheduled shifts. And I'm sorry, but the made-up scenario where they might suddenly need me to be in 1,000,000 times a week, I kept 2 part-time jobs because I was terrible at selling credit cards at both, and that's how they picked who got more than a shift or 2 a week. So I'm walking outside back to my car, completely unbothered, because yeah, those shifts would be nice to have kept, but I was not about to put off a full-time job with benefits because a crappy part-time one is making a sad face at me and expecting a degree of loyalty that is simply unearned. And I realize the manager is running down the sidewalk calling after me. Maud: You need to come back here and start calling other employees to find coverage for your scheduled shifts. Me, gobsmacked: You literally just told me I don't work here anymore. Maud: But you still have to get your shifts covered. You can sit in the office and call down the list of employees right now. Me, incredulous laughter: Absolutely not. I'm literally no longer an employee. I was happy to work those shifts, and that wasn't enough, so that's a you problem now. When I got back to my car, I got a call from the general manager. She politely told me that if I didn't give 2 weeks' notice, I would no longer be in good standing with their parent company and ineligible to work at any of them or their brands ever again. I had no issues with the general manager and explained how it went down and that I would not be changing my stance and was A-okay with those consequences. We wished each other good luck in the future endeavors, and I never went back to retail again, after ending the department store job a year or so later. Down in the comments by AdMurky1021. General Manager, if you didn't give 2 weeks' notice, you would no longer be in good standing with our parent company and ineligible to work for them or any of their brands ever again. Quote, I did give 2 weeks' notice. It's not on me if your department manager doesn't accept it. And then underneath that is something by Eat Lard. This is going on your permanent record. Looks down nose at you. Is there actually something in your life called a permanent record that affects you? Because mine never has, but I wasn't really a troublemaker. Any of you that got in trouble in school a lot, did your permanent record ever affect you? I pretty much stopped hearing about permanent records after I left high school. Our next story today is by Lass3000, or IAS3000, I'm not sure which it is, entitled Karen Assumes. My husband and I were up at the lake this weekend to do some bird watching during spring migration. We stopped in the visitor center to pick up a couple of sweatshirts at the gift shop. I was going through the rack and asking my husband what he liked and what size he wanted. A Karen with the signature, I want to see the manager haircut, was at the rack next to me. I heard her ask how much the t-shirts are here. I assumed she was talking to the 3 ladies working there. A couple of seconds later, she asks again, much louder and pissed. I turned to look at her, and yep, she was waving a t-shirt at me. I said, I have no idea. Why are you asking me? Why don't you ask someone that works here? Dramatic huffing. I thought you would know. Me wearing muddy hiking shoes and binoculars around my neck, shopping for my husband, who I was calling a baby. I looked her dead in the eye and said, why? She stormed off to the counter, literally 5 feet away where 3 actual employees were standing. Still pissed that the non-employee didn't know the price of what she wanted to buy. Down in the comments by Such Mountain 6316. Typical. It seems they think that it's their world and we're all here to serve them. I think they have mental problems, really, and one day some psychiatrist is going to come up with a name for it. And underneath that comment by Wench Pie. Karenitis, a debilitating medical condition that affects the eyes, ears, and cognitive function. It can cause a range of symptoms including main character, entitlement, and laryngitis from being compelled to shout at random people. Sufferers of this condition rarely have friends or satisfied husbands. Please, if you can spare it, we desperately need funding for research to find a cure. Thank you. Wench Pie, there's no medication on the planet that will cure us from Karenitis. Our last story today is by Educational Car 615. Do you work here? This takes place in the fall of 2015 at your local Kroger's Associated Brand store, in the office supply aisle. I was wearing a black top and a tropical print orangey red skirt, relevant later. I was in the middle of trying to apply to grad school and needed to give my letter writers certain info so they could submit my letters of recommendation for the programs that I was applying to. I tried to soothe my anxiety about doing this by being super fussy about these folders. I was looking for a certain kind of folder that had 3 hole punch bindings already in them. The bin of folders just happened to be at the floor level, so I was crouched down to the floor, intently sorting through them. As I dug through the folders to select the perfect 3, I heard somebody loudly shout down the aisle. Focused on my task, I ignored this entirely. I had just about picked my favorite when, to my surprise, a middle-aged brunette woman was suddenly standing right over me. She was right in my personal space. The edges of her shoes were near my rear end. She then shouted down at me, "Do you work here?" I kept my body still and calm, crouched to the floor, and slowly turned my head to face her. I had already done my time dealing with her type as a barista, a waitress, a call center customer service rep, and on and on. I've been called every name under the sun for a paycheck and worse, and that tone filled me with instant rage. No. I coldly replied to her, giving the death stare right back up into her enraged face as she glowered down at me. It was only then that I realized that she'd already shouted, "Do you work here?" at me from down the aisle before, and I'd ignored it entirely because I don't. Fortunately, this Karen took the hint. She walked off, muttering under her breath to go find an actual employee to berate, and I already felt sorry for whatever unlucky victim she found. I realized checking out that the staff at the store wear red and black uniforms, and I guess my orangey skirt and black shirt must have been enough of a visual cue for this heinous Karen. I still think about it sometimes when I go to that store. I hope she never found what she was looking for that day. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have an unbothered day.